Right, this video is how to use Fiat ECU scan to diagnose your Fiat Seicento, or multiple Fiats are available. There should be a list on Fiat ECU scan website. So now we've already selected Seicento with that ECU out version. Right, now first of all we need to get a unit, the piece of kit you get for it, which is USB to OBD2 reader. You then grab, I don't know if you can see this, down there you can see the white plug. Plug that in, that goes blue. You grab a USB wire, cable plug, plug it into the side of the laptop. You hear a beep, it'll in, or you'll have to go through all that setup again. Then you need to go to the car's ignition, turn it on position, but do not start the engine. You'll have the fuel pump on, then you can click on the connect, as long as you've set it all up, and it should in theory connect to the car's ECU, and you should get a message saying, giving you the option to select invalid ISO code. This is normal. You select Y or N. I select yes to continue. Here's the information on the ECU. Errors. That's a good thing to see. No fault codes found. Parameters. Right, now this is where you can start the engine and see all information from the engine itself. So make sure it's out of gear. This is a cold start as well, a bit nippy out. As you can see, the engine is running, and we should start to see information pop up through onto the screen if I can. Aha! Forgot about that. Need to select it. There you go. That's what that's reading in kilometers. That's registered on the ECU. Here's what it's saying on my car's dash. These are going a bit shit because. Right, then we can select last rewrite. That's 0 kilometers for some reason. Engine loads. All sorts of stuff. You can go biometric pressure, millibars. As I rev the engine, that should have changed. All sorts of stuff. Throttle position. This should definitely change. This is a good way to dial in your throttle, TPS, make sure it's all accurate. As I rev the engine, got data on there, and you can look at all sorts of stuff here. Engine temperature, as you can see, 17 degrees. Bear in mind that's been running for it's increasing about a degree a minute, 2 degrees a minute I'd say. Air temperature coming in 4 degrees. It's obviously increased slightly due to the exhaust heating up. Manifold pressure. Alright, this is the one that changes as we rev the engine. There you go, that's it. Engine speed, nice steady RPM, obviously relative to acceleration, all sorts of stuff. Throttle angle, which is essentially throttle position. Apparently not changing. Desired RPM, right, yeah. And that is Fiat's desired RPM target for the ECU to reach. That's fairly close, very close indeed to it. And obviously that changes with temperature. You've got all sorts of fuel air ratio. I don't know if this works until it's gone into closed loop or open loop, I've forgotten it. Idle air actuator position. There you go. That should slowly close as the engine warms up. There you go, that's slowly closing as the engine warms up. Yeah, it's all air pressure. I don't know if that's relative to. Don't know if that's the external air pressure from, as in altitude, being calculated by D2, but I'm not sure. But as you can see, you've got loads of information. Timing cycle 1. I have no idea what the hell that does. Alright, so that doesn't change much at all. Battery voltage is fairly useful, I suppose. So and you can obviously test if you rev it a bit. In theory that should increase, yeah, as it has just done. That shows the alternator's doing a bit, but the best way is a multimeter on the alternator itself. Knock sensor signal, knock sensor blah 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 blah. They all work. It shows the knock sensor is connected, and it's obviously not ping. I don't know if that gives a date. Timing, that's another one that might be interesting. Timing calculated. And let's see how hot the engine is now. Yeah, see the engine's nice and warmer-ish. Obviously you can see 8 degrees now, external temperature. That's obviously adjusted due to the manifold air intake being right next to the exhaust manifold, so yeah. Vehicle status should say stopped. Standstill, yeah, basically the same. But that will, engine speed is relative to actual engine speed, which is kind of cool. Engine load, don't know if that works. Based on calculations, obviously. Fuel system monitoring, all sorts of stuff you can see, and you get graph forms. The ones you selected in that parameters section, you can also deselect here and get real telemetry. If you hit start, everything should start happening over either on this side, or well, it depends what resolution you go for. It's recording, but I think I put it, yeah, there you go, stuff is starting to happen now because I've got it on zoomed all the way out. And here's another interesting thing. Turn it off, then back on again. You may need to reconnect to the engine. I don't know if we're still connected. Latency too high. Oh well. Right. This is quite interesting. For the fan first speed, execute. And can you hear my fan turning round? hear it in the background. I'm manually running my fan. What the hell's happened here? Right then, reconnect for some reason. Give it a second. Running a fan may have created a voltage spike for some reason in ECU. Right, we get the same message, so we hit Y, we go to actuators. Right, fan second speed, we don't know what the hell's going to happen here. Evidently my high speed doesn't work. The second speed doesn't work apparently. Idle actuator. We can run fuel pump relay, that's a bit easier. Execute, should have my fuel pump fire up in a second. And injector, get a bit keen. Right, injector 1, you should hear injector 1 fire a few times. The injector just fired, obviously you won't hear that. That's a rev counter. This would be if I had a Sporting with the rev pod in the centre of the dash. I don't, so that would probably rev up, well, effectively rev up, show indication of revving. Idle actuator, you've got all sorts of stuff. Right, coil 1. I don't know if I should be doing coil after injecting, depends if the intake valve's open, but we'll have a gander to see what happens. Coil 1 sent it to, is it number 1 and number 1 and number 4 cylinders, I think. Yeah, so AC compressor, rev counter, engine overheat light. You can test the bulb effectively if you look on my dash now. I'm going to click execute. You should see that come on the dashboard in theory. Is it on? Probably not. Engine warning indicator. This does work. Execute, I think. Well, obviously it's not the best test because I haven't started the engine, but still, get the idea. If I start the engine, whoa, what's happening now? There you go. Right, engine warning indicator. That should pop on the dash. I see what's happened. I had to turn it off, on and off. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to probably have to reconnect in a second. It lost connection because I had to turn the ignition on and off. Dash on a bit. There you go. Right then. So we're going to have to go to info, disconnect, yeah, stop it from trying to find it, reconnect to it. I should connect to the ECU in a second. Invalid, yeah, blah blah, invalid ICO code. Right, adjustments. I don't think it's advised to go on actuations right now while the engine's running, but you could do the engine overheat light. We'll test that now, see if it actually works this time. Apparently we're not getting anything on the dash at all, so we'll have to look into that. This one should work in theory. Apparently not. Have to look into that as well. But yeah, you get the idea. You can't adjust self-adoption reset. This is what I was on about. You have to rev to 5,000 RPM. Here's the write-up if you want to pause the video. Have a gander at that. You say, yeah, 5,000 3 times, 4.5, whatever. But basically on these not sporting models, you haven't got an RPM gauge, so you just have to guess it essentially for it to reset. But yeah, very interesting stuff. Can do all sorts of stuff with it. And for codes, errors, you'd see errors here. And I think I've never seen errors on this screen yet, but I think it goes into detail of what the actual error is according to Fiat's code readout. But yeah, sorry for the long video, but it's my first time doing this in a while, so, but pretty interesting stuff. I'll scroll through this slowly so you can see different things, what it can do. Spark advance, high pressure. As you can probably tell, I don't know if you can tell from vibrations through my arm, but that slight lumpy run to the engine at the moment, which I'm going to have to sort out, probably just in case of spark plug change. But they're the things it can do. And when you select something, for instance, I'm going to select charge time coil 1. We're going to hit milliseconds here. That tells you the time before it has to let the charge out of the coil to send a spark to the engine. From steady running, it's fairly constant, but idling, it bounces around quite a bit. We can do both of them. They should, in theory, be opposite to each other, but fairly stable. But it's the latency time between updates is just not quick enough to adjust. It's just going on a rough estimation. But yeah, adaptive up. But yeah, that's my, could say, review of Fiat Ecu Scan 2.3.1. And as you can see, as I was saying earlier, the selections you make on the other page translate onto here. You won't see anything yet. You can change zoom 5 times, and you can go to 1 times. Go to 20 times, but I think they only take effect once you're running it. So we've F10 or I hit start. Right, things are happening now. So we're gonna, as you can see, I zoomed in a bit more and now things are happening a lot more rapidly. Usually the rule of thumb is once the engines come up to operating temperature, which is about 80 odd degrees from looking at that actuators page. But as I was saying, fuel pump relay, all sorts of stuff, be clicking regularly. It just gives you information of what should be happening, so you've not got to go research. And also in the other selections, you go down here and the things you selected earlier you can see in real time on a different page, which is kind of cool. So yeah, I don't advise activating many of these. Maybe fans may work, but we'll see just now. Failed to execute, as I said. You shouldn't, most of these you shouldn't be able to do when the engine's running, because obviously hit inject to inject a bit too much fuel. Coil, you can potentially detonate the wrong way, but I doubt it. But yeah, that is the review of that. And that's about 15 minutes of video, I'm not sure. I'm looking at it backwards, it counts down how long I've got. But yeah, so that's pretty interesting. There's info on there. You see what we're talking about today, and here is the setup we've got going today. There's the ECU 1.1 litre engine. Bit hard to tell if I'm on focus, my low res LCD on the back of this camera isn't the best, but yeah, bloody hell, we're using a bit of petrol now.